You ready? Hello, y'all. Welcome back. It's the Fantasy Football Hour with the Crooked Commish. I'm your host, the Crooked Commish. We're here. Thank you to Chicago Clubhouse Network for sponsoring the show and bringing me on to talk to you guys about some fantasy football here. We had a lot of injuries to deal with, a lot of big time injuries as well. A lot of good football games happened this past week. A lot of guys blew up as well. If you guys have any questions about your team, about any trades, anybody that you think you should possibly pick up, drop it in the comments. Let us know. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions that come our way. So any hypotheticals and whatnot, please let us know. And we'll get back to you and answer anything you guys throw our way. I'm not going to be doing this alone, though. I'll have some help. I'm going to bring on the real VP. He's here with me every Monday, and we go over these games, and we find out who did good and who didn't, and who to possibly pick up as a replacement. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on my co-host here, the real VP. Hello,
What's
sir.
up? How are you, man?
Oh, not too much, man. I'm doing good.
Good.
You?
Good, man. Been busy the last couple days. Actually got to go to the Cardinals-Ravens game yesterday, watch the Cardinals lose. So that was that's always fun. But
Yeah.
so I didn't get to watch a lot of the games, but I'm here, man. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me and stuff. Like I said, we definitely have a lot of injuries to kind of go through.
Yes, sir.
The injury bug, we're about halfway through the season, and the injury bug's starting to get most of these teams. So if you guys like what you see, please make sure to leave a thumbs up. We would definitely appreciate it. And even if you shared it, we would appreciate that even more. But before we get into the games and whatnot, VP, how did you personally do in your fantasy games?
I'm happy to report that I actually did well this week. Out of the two leagues
Nice.
that we're a part of together, pretty good, man. I got lucky with I'm playing against Diva, actually, our one of our potential producers here in the future. He had Patrick Mahomes and 10 fantasy points, man. It's kind of a dud on that side of things. So I kind of got lucky there. I still have Jared Goff tonight and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And right now I'm up by like 40. So I think I'm doing.
Oh man,
I
you're
think
just
I'm going to
kicking
win
his
that
dick in
one.
the dirt.
Yeah, he's got Jacoby Myers, so I think I should be all right on that one. So like I said,
I
happy
agree.
to report a win there. I also had a couple of studs this week: Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase, Brees Hall, T.J. Hawkinson, all with 20+ points. So I also had Miami's
Damn.
defense, Cameron Dicker, come in with 19 points. So feeling pretty good about that one.
Did you go over 200 in that game or what?
We'll see. We'll see. We're getting close.
It's not over yet. Okay.
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
possibility. How about you?
All right. I did pretty good as well. I won in both of the leagues, or at least I'm close to winning. In one of the leagues here, I'm playing against the worst team. The guy's 0-7, probably going to go 0-8. He's got Adams going tonight, Devontae Adams, and he needs about 28 points from him. So if he gets above that, then he's going to get his first win. But I'm thinking that he may not get. I'm hoping he doesn't get that many points.
Yeah, I think you
Because
should
I
probably
definitely need
be.
it.
You should probably be safe there.
Should be. Should be.
Should be. I mean,
Hey,
I don't want to jinx you or anything, but because it could always happen. He could go for 2 or 3 touchdowns and blow you out of the water. But
yeah, Devontae Adams has been on that stud list plenty of times. So I mean, granted, this time he doesn't have a guy like Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. So that should help. But 28 points is not within the realm of it's definitely within the realm of possibilities, especially in a PPR league. So that's the other thing I want to remind you guys that are watching. We're talking about PPR league here. So when we're giving out points and whatnot, it's assuming that you're in a PPR league there. So if not, then the points that we give out may not quite match up to you. So Keith, thank you very much for checking in. This 32 league team league is brutal. Kamara's saving my season though. Gotcha. Nice. Yeah, it is pretty tough, man. It's definitely. I thought it was slim pickings being in like a 14-man league, but being in a 32-man league, there's like the free agent list is like completely depleted. So
how'd you do this week in that league, by the way?
I won, but I lost the previous week. So everyone's finally had a loss there.
Okay.
It looks like I'm gonna win here. He still has a big player. He still has St. Brown going tonight, but I also have Laporta up going tonight as well, and I'm up by like almost 30 points, so around 28 points as well. So that one should result in a win as well.
Yeah, let me know how that one shakes out. I see you said Kamara's saving the season. I saw a stat that was Kamara and Christian McCaffrey side by side from the beginning of their career until now, like all of their stats. Kamara is either at least tied or better than McCaffrey. Can you believe that?
Really? No, I can't.
Yep.
That's just
every
because
single stat line.
He's been suspended.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, every single stat line was like at least the same or better. I thought that was pretty wild in both of their careers.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is. That's a good stat. That's like a good stat of the day type one. That's a good find there. So, what's your record like in these leagues?
Give me just a second. Right now, going into this week, 3-4. I think I'm 3-4 in both leagues, actually. Yeah, 3-4 in both. So I'll be 4-4 after tonight.
Okay.
I'm just, in the one league we call it the hardcore league. If you end up in that last spot at the end of the season, you get kicked out for the next season. So, and I was kind of on the bubble there last year, so I'm hoping to stay out of that realm this year.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's so nerve-wracking being in the bottom two in that particular league. Even if it's like week 3, you hate being in that spot. It just feels so uncomfortable to be in the cellar there. So
it's lonely. It smells bad. It's the basement is no fun place to be. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's all musky and stuff. Yeah. So Keith, you're about to go 5-3. So all right, cool. I'm about to go 6-1 in that one, or 7-1 in that one. So hopefully I can keep that up. There's still a long way to go. And then he's saying that Kamara's about to get me 60 next weekend versus the Bears. All right, Keith, I'm gonna have to block you here, man. That ain't cool.
That's enough of that,
Ain't
he
cool.
said.
Yeah, trying to be funny because I ain't funny. Man, but I could see it though. I mean, the Bears defense has been a little lackadaisical to say the least. So
I mean, they better play him like they're
crazy
playing
ace.
Christian McCaffrey.
There you go. There you go. If they do that, they should have no issues then. Crazy Aces, thank you very much for joining in. He was on with me last night. We're doing a live stream of the Bears game, and that wasn't too fun. So,
Yeah.
but what are you gonna do? So, all right, let's get into some of these games and find out who blew up this week and maybe who got injured this week. The Thursday night game, I checked that game out. Bills took that one 24-18. Everybody had some pretty decent days. Yeah, everyone ate pretty well. I think Josh Allen had the biggest day. He had one rushing touchdown. He threw two touchdowns, had 41 yards rushing and 324 yards. So he had a good bounce back day from last week. And then his receivers as well had really good games. Gabe Davis is having a really good season. He had 9 catches on 12 targets for 87 yards and a touchdown, ended up with 23 fantasy points. Stephon Diggs had 16, and then
Yeah, I
the
sat
rookie
him
Dalton
too. I sat
Kincaid.
Davis.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, 23
Ooh.
points on my bench.
Well, it
Whoops.
sounds like you didn't really need it since you still won.
No, I mean, I didn't need it. I mean, I had a lot of performers there, a lot of 20 plus points on there. But who I actually played over him was Rashee Rice.
He didn't do too bad though. Looking at his stats, it wasn't 22, but he ended up with 17 fantasy points. He didn't do much rushing. He only had 39 rushing yards, but he did most of his damage receiving. I think he had 7 catches for 70
No,
yards.
Rashee Rice.
So. Oh, Rashid
Kansas
Rice
City
from
receiver.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I was thinking of White. I thought you said White. My bad.
Oh, okay. Okay, Rashad White. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
Go ahead. Continue, bud. Sorry.
Oh, no problem, man. The one that surprised me the most for sure is starting to heat up is Dalton Kincaid. He had 17 fantasy points, touchdown with 65 yards and 5 catches. Everybody on Tampa, for the most part, did decent. Like I said, Rashid White, who I was just mistaken, the guy that you just were talking about. Like I said, he had 17 points. Godwin had 16 points, and then Mike Evans had 12 fantasy points. So the one guy that has piqued my curiosity in this game, though, was Baker Mayfield. He had 2 touchdowns, 237 yards, and no turnovers. Let me ask you, if you had to ride with this guy as your main quarterback going in, would you feel comfortable? Like, do you think he would be solid enough to where you could stick with this guy?
Oh man, that's such a loaded question. He hasn't really shown a whole lot of consistency, which is what makes it really hard to answer. When you're looking at quarterbacks, you want consistency, right? You want somebody that's has a floor that you can handle, man. And he's just so up and down. I don't know. I think there's better options out there, even on a waiver wire.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull up some waiver wire. I think I would rather go with Derek Carr, to be honest.
Okay. So is it just a matter of trusting those weapons he has around them more? Like, are you just liking guys like Kamara and Michael Thomas and stuff?
Yeah, I think with Derek Carr and the Saints, I think they're just moving the ball better. I think the offense for the Buccaneers is still a little shaky. I think Yeah, I just don't see it. I would look elsewhere personally.
Gotcha. I was thinking about that name as well that just was suggested here. Will Levis or Will
Mm-hmm.
Leverage. Yeah, maybe. He had a surprisingly good game here and blew up. He
Yeah,
was
in the
one of the
absence of
surprise
Fitzpatrick.
duds for his game. Correct. No, 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 no. In the absence of Tannenhill
Oh, Tannehill. That's what I
for
meant.
the. Yes. Yeah, I misheard you then. My bad. Sorry about that. But yeah, I hear what you're saying about Baker. It would be uncomfortable if you had to stick with this guy. But I, if nothing else, he's at least better than someone like Mitter.
Yeah, yeah. Who
So
also was very mid again this week.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, speaking of Will Levis, dude, he had a good game too as well. Like I said, he had 238 on the yards, 4 touchdown passes for his rookie game. So he looked surprisingly good. He's definitely making the stud list. And then Henry didn't get no touchdowns. He had 16 fantasy points, 101 rushing yards, 4 catches for 21 yards. So they're still trying to use him there in the passing game every once in a while. And then the other guy that came out of hiding was Hopkins. He had probably one of the best fantasy days of this week. 34 fantasy points, 4 catches, 128 yards on 6 targets, and 3 touchdowns. Count them, 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns.
So
Yep.
you remember what that used to be like with your team, huh?
Yeah, that was nice, man. I'm missing that right about now. That's for damn
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Dobbs could use a receiver like that to throw to.
Yeah. Well, did you hear they're starting Clayton Tune next week?
Really, I did not
Yep.
hear that.
Breaking news just came out
So,
about an hour ago.
oh, okay, okay. Well, you heard it here, folks. First, folks. Um, so, what do you think that means for Kyler? Like, are they trading him, or are they just sitting him all
I,
season and trading him in the
I
off season?
so everything that I've heard so far is that Coach Gannon today said that we'll see when asked if Kyler would start in week 10. So it's still up in the air. I don't know what they're gonna do. I think, at this point, maybe we're just looking for that first pick in the draft, just tank the rest of the season and
Right.
just try to get a draft together next year. But who knows what they're gonna do.
Fantasy wise, would that be somebody that you would trade for if you got hurt? Like, say you wouldn't feel comfortable with Baker Mayfield, right? Say somebody was offering, Kyler Murray on the block, or he's out there on the free agent list. Would that be somebody that you would kind of maybe stash and kind of see what he does, kind of write it out for
Yeah,
with
yeah,
whoever
I
you got
would.
until then?
I would. I mean, the Cardinals right now, they're actually, they're losing every game, but they're staying in the games. They're not getting
Mm-hmm.
completely blown out. They're being pretty competitive. I mean, even yesterday's game, they came back and scored a couple touchdowns and at least made it a little bit closer. So I think with what they have going there, I would look into that for sure.
Cool, cool. Um, I I think when you're in that spot, you could you're almost desperate. You'll take anything, and at least someone like Kyler kind of has the rushing element to his game.
Hmm.
Granted, coming off of this injury, not too sure how eager he's going to be to kind of scramble, but he still should have a decent to good arm as long as he has some sort of protection and some open lanes to throw to. So
That's
being
that's the
short,
hard part is the offensive line and having time to throw the ball. If
correct?
they can
Yeah,
work
yeah.
that out, we'll be all right. He'll be all right. And I think for fantasy purposes, he's viable enough to get you through in a pinch if you need it.
Yeah, and I mean, he might if he really clicks with this offense too. He might be one of the guys that could save you during playoffs times, where like I said, he's a guy you didn't have on your roster, wasn't even rostered on probably most people's teams. And yet, if he catches fire, he's one of those guys that can very easily throw up 25, 30 fantasy points a game.
100%.
Continue on with the Tennessee Atlanta game there that I kind of jumped to. Tennessee ended up holding on to that game 28-27. It was a pretty close game. Not sure if Levis is going to have a repeat of that, but I mean, if you need a quarterback, he's somebody that you may want to take a flyer on. Let me see who Tennessee is going to be playing next week. Let's see how his matchups are. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I think if you need a flyer at quarterback, that's definitely an interesting, kind of an intriguing pick there. They've been talking about that in Tennessee, like put Will Levis in, and he did what he had to do. He did all right.
Yeah, and it was kind of going back between him and Willis. I think the other guy that they drafted the year before. I forget his name's. I'm drawing a blank on his name here.
Malik Willis.
Malik Willis, yes. But the rest of Levis's games here at Tennessee, his next one he's already done with his bye, so you don't have to worry about that. He's got Pittsburgh. He's at Pittsburgh, at Tampa, at Jacksonville, the next 3 games. And then Carolina, Indiana, at Miami. And then these are the playoff games, would be Houston and Seattle. So,
okay, so
not the hardest schedule.
Most of those are pretty appealing. Couple difficult ones tied in there, but
absolutely, yeah. But nothing too crazy where it looks like Murderer's Row or anything.
So while we're still on this game, what do you think about Bijan? What's happening with Bijan?
I at least am happy that they're using him, since I have him on one of my teams. Happy that they're at least using him more than they're using like Kyle Pitts and whatnot. He ended up having a decent game. He only had 12 fantasy points. He had a touchdown and 62 yards. And honestly, that touchdown saved him. If he didn't have that touchdown, he would only have 6 fantasy points. That would be like a dud.
So he played 50 snaps and got 11 carries.
Yeah. They're really sharing the ball with Tyler Algier as well. He's just stealing, anywhere from 7 to 8 carries, sometimes even 10. So it's one of those things where if I got offered a decent package for him, I would think about possibly moving him, especially if I had, 2 decent running backs. I had another solid running back, and then that other running back behind him was someone like a Kareem Hunt or something like that. If you could get some good value for Bijan, like, I would try and sell high here. But at the same time, let me ask you, so your boy Mitter ended up getting benched this game. And
for Heineke, I think they should keep rolling with that.
That's another quarterback where you could possibly pick up as well if he's going to be the starting guy going forward, which it looks like he is.
I think they should roll with Heineke. I think he's just so much more consistent. He's just a smarter quarterback altogether. And for fantasy relevancy, I absolutely. If you've got some injuries, you got Matt Stafford or Kirk Cousins. If you got Kirk Cousins, I'd go pick up Heineke.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. You could do a lot worse. He's definitely one of those guys that maybe you could use as a filler if you could get him and a Kyle. What do you call? Kyle Murray. Sorry, I'm watching the World Series game here too. That kind of distracted me for a minute.
Yeah, I got it on over here too.
Yeah, we're in Arizona, folks. So sorry, I'm going to be a little distracted tonight with Game 3. So you're gonna have to forgive us on that one. But in Heineke, getting back to the game here, in Heineke's replacement, he didn't do too bad. He threw a touchdown, had 175 yards. The other guy that got dinged up in this game was Drake London. he only had 10 fantasy points, 5 catches for 55 yards. The touchdown pass ended up going to Scotty Miller. He only had 9 fantasy points. He didn't really do much more after that, just 2 catches for 14 yards. But London ended up, I think, with the hurt knee, and he's
A groin, I
day to
heard.
day. Or
I heard it
groin.
was
You're
a
right. You're
groin.
right. Groin. No, you're right. It was a groin. So those groin injuries too tend to linger.
Yeah, man, they're
So
pretty easy to re-aggravate.
yeah, yeah. And that's one of those things where that could cause an uptick on Bijan's little dump off passes.
Hmm.
Or if nothing else, I think Pitt's owners are hoping that he gets an uptick, and that guy got thrown out at the plate. Yeah, yeah, he doesn't have quite the speed for that. Damn it. But yeah, he Pitts. I think if you're one of those guys that thinks that Pitts could get an uptick because of that injury, um, would he be somebody that you would maybe try and trade for on the cheap? I mean,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
know we
I
both have a
absolutely.
bad taste for Pitts in our mouth because that sounded bad too. But Pitt, Kyle Pitts has done us dirty quite a bit. I've had him on a few fantasy teams, and it's just so frustrating seeing him get next to nothing in points.
Yeah, the
But
frustration's real. So if he has I think if he does have a couple good games here, in week 9 and week 10, if he does have a couple good games, I would move him because I just don't see it lasting.
gotcha. So if you can dump him off on somebody, it's something that you would definitely recommend, and I would recommend it too.
I mean, depending on
But
the injuries or, and if Heineke's going to stick around, he might decide that he likes to use him a little more the way he should be used, you know,
yeah,
see how
yeah,
he does in these next couple weeks and go from there.
yeah. No, that's fair. That's definitely fair. Um, Heineke did decent when he was with Washington, and he had guys like Scary Terry and stuff to throw to. So someone like Drake London and Kyle Pitts, he should be more than comfortable to throw to those guys as well. So those are good
Yes, sir.
athletes. All right. Let's see. Hey, real quick, I also wanted to ask you. There's been a lot of talk. Do you think Henry is going to get traded, Derek?
So they told him that they weren't going to trade him, but that wouldn't be the first time a team's lied to a player, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think they will. But money talks, or I guess not money, but if they're offered a couple first rounders and some decent talent to go along with it, I wouldn't be surprised if they do, but I don't think they will.
Gotcha.
What do
Well,
you think?
I mean, I think they would have to get a hell of an offer. It would be interesting to see what team he would go to. Some of the hypothetical teams I'm hearing is something like Baltimore,
Mm-hmm.
which if that was to happen, if Derrick Henry gets traded there, that would be a pretty crazy lineup there between Jackson, Henry. You still got Odell,
Gus
and you got
Edwards.
Andrews. Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
think
just
all the
all together,
obviously
a lot of big studs there.
yes. And if nothing else, that may take away from the goal line carries that Jackson usually kind of gets there. If you
Right.
got a guy like Derrick Henry, who's a big battering ram, why not give it to him and have him take it all the way instead of
Yep.
using Lamar Jackson, where if he takes a hit, he's out.
That would be an interesting landing spot, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. I think the trade deadline's tomorrow. So for the NFL, um, so we'll see if there's any moves made. I know last year there was a few moves that was what's his name, McCaffrey ended up getting traded last year at the deadline. So
Yep, that was pretty wild.
it was, it was.
So a game
So
that I was looking at was the Cowboys Cowboys
Oh yeah,
Rams. Cowboys
they
just
blew
stomped them 43-20.
I saw
Dak
my boy
Prescott.
CD had a big game.
Oh, huge game. I don't know what I didn't equate everything to. Actually, I can look right here. CD. Oh, maybe I lied.
I can look it up and tell you how many he had since I
41
had him here.
41 fantasy points.
Yeah, over 150
40,
yards. He did pretty damn good.
41. Yeah, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, 12 receptions. So for PPR, that's outstanding. Dak Prescott had a great game, 25 for 31, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Not excited about really anybody else. I mean, Jake Ferguson had a decent game, 4 catches for 47 yards.
The tight end. Okay.
Yep. Yes, sir. And I think Tony Pollard was a bit of a dud, 53 yards.
Okay. Yeah.
On the other side of the ball, I mean, the Rams just could not get anything going offensively. Matthew Stafford, 162 yards, 1 touchdown and a pick. Again, we see Royce. We talked about this last week. Royce Freeman, Darrell Henderson, who was going to get the work. Last week it was Henderson, who actually had more carries, but Royce Freeman got the goal line work and got the touchdown this week. So that was interesting to kind of see that.
Yeah, that's part of the madness of trying to guesstimate which guy is going to blow up this week, and you know, because it always seems like you end up guessing wrong, or at least I do.
Yeah. I mean, so do I, because guess what I did? I went and you dropped Henderson. I picked him up. I dropped Freeman, and Henderson didn't score.
I saw that. And the reason why I dropped Henderson, though, is they're saying that they demoted him back to the practice squad. So it's just like,
oh, they did?
When you hear well, yeah, that's why I had dropped him, but then they elevate him right back up like a few days later.
Oh, wow.
But
yeah.
I mean, but it's like they're playing with his emotions as far as you're on the team, you're off the team. Hey, you did good, but we still don't like you. Wait a minute, come back. That's
tough, man.
Yeah.
You said Tutu, or I'm sorry, Puka.
Yeah, I saw Puka. Yes, he got a little banged up. It looked like his knee. That was the one that was I'm mistaken for. His knee got banged up, but nothing serious. They said he should be good to go, but for next week. But that's one of those where if he did have to miss time, someone like Cooper Kupp could get a spike back in their numbers, because I know the last 2 weeks he's kind of been on that dud list where he hasn't done too much.
He's on my dud list right now. 4 receptions, 21 yards. That's yikes.
Yeah. Do you think that injury's still bugging him? It's still lingering, or is it just still rust working out? Is that a guy you would try to trade?
It's hard for me to say. I didn't get to watch this game as I was busy on Sunday, but I don't know. He's still a stud. I think he'll bounce back. I don't think, I think if Stafford is still good to go, he should be all right.
Okay. He did get knocked around too and ended up leaving that game as well, Stafford?
Yeah, right thumb.
Yeah, I said it's a UCL sprain. He's listed as day to day.
I don't know what the timeline is on that type of injury either.
Sounds like they're gonna just take it, like I said, just kind of day by day as far as how it's feeling, and it's probably going to be game time decisions for Stafford here for the next few weeks.
I mean, anytime you've got an injury on your throwing hand, it's never good.
Yeah. Ask Justin Fields too. Frank says, what are the chances the Rams fire their coach and the Bears take him? Slim to none, because the Bears don't tend to hire coaches. So I'm not sure someone like a guy like McVay's in their line of vision there. So, what do you call the next game that I want to talk about was pretty good. Yeah, Frank, I guess we could all dream. Yeah. If I'm dreaming that, don't wake me up, though. That's for damn sure. The Dolphins and Patriots game, another division game there. And the Dolphins took care of business 31-17. I think last week, Tua and them had a down game, but they made up for it this week. Tua had 3 touchdowns, 324 yards. Waddle had 7 catches for 125 yards, ended up getting 25 fantasy points. Same thing with Tyreek Hill, 25 fantasy points as well. Honestly, that seems like that's all he throws it to, because here Waddle got 12 targets and then Hill got 13 targets. And
Yeah, I mean they're just
anything.
splitting right down the middle. It's almost every game too.
Yeah,
But if you
unless
have,
one of them's
two
injured.
powerhouses like that, like, why not? I would do the same.
Yeah, and a lot of the times when you watch these games, these guys are like wide open too. Like it's amazing. You see somebody like Hill, and you're just like, how is he wide open? How is there no one within 5 feet from him?
Because he runs 125
so-
miles an hour. That's why.
Oh, that's right. They called him the cheetah. That's right.
Yeah, he's so fast, man. That another stat I heard, I think it was a couple weeks ago, but the Dolphins have like the 4 fastest players in the NFL between Raheem Mostert,
Yeah.
Achane, who's out now, but Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They're the 4 fastest players in the NFL.
Yeah, I heard that too. They're recorded the fastest times from their chips on their pads and stuff.
Next gen stats.
Yeah. All the duds in this game pretty much came from New England side. Mac Jones.
No way.
So. Yeah, I believe that. No, it's amazing what Tom Brady not being on your team will do.
Mm-hmm.
Mac Jones had 2 touchdowns, 161 yards. Ramon Stevenson makes it to the dud list. Only 6 fantasy points, next to nothing. The only one that did anything was Bourne. He had 3 catches for 36 yards and a touchdown, so he had 12 fantasy points. Juju got the other touchdown.
A knee injury too.
Yeah, his ACL. I think he's done for the year. So he was another one that ended up getting hurt.
That was one of my waiver wire pickups last week too.
Was Bourne?
So that sucks. Yep.
Yeah. What did you use you use a waiver claim on him, or was it just a free agent pickup?
It was a free agent pickup, is what it was. I don't remember who I dropped for him, but yeah, I picked him up and time to drop him again.
Yeah, definitely don't want to put him on the IR. But Crazy Aces, yeah, Claypool's definitely whiffing on the blocks. I think he's connecting more over in Miami, but he was definitely whiffing on blocks when he was over here in Chicago. The other game that was a decent game and that had another injury in it was Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. Jacksonville ended up winning 20-10. No one really had super good games here. Everyone was just kind of mid, this one. The best game probably came from Etney. Did I say that right?
No, sir.
Etienne?
There you go.
Second time's a charm. He ended up having 23 fantasy points this game. He had a 70 yards receiving with the touchdown and then 75 yards rushing. The other one that had a decent day was Evan Ingram, the tight end. No touchdowns, but 10 catches for 88 yards. Ended up with 18 fantasy points. Yep. He's been doing solid for me as well. I think he's still in the top 4 to win your bet.
Yeah. Keep going. I'll look that up and see if he's still there.
Okay. Let's see. Frank, I heard Claypool had some sick hands when he filled some water bottles. Yeah, I heard that rumor too. I guess he's got hands for something. Steve probably has been asked 100 times. Do the Bears use the first pick on a QB or trade down? Ooh. Well, assuming they get the first pick, whether it's Carolina's or theirs, um, I would say you would have to get a QB. Like the fact that you didn't take a QB on this past draft, and not even in the first round, but just a QB at all. Um, the fact, and you have two top 5 picks potentially here, and if you have the number 1 pick again, I think you have to draft a quarterback, because if you don't, it's like, what the hell are you waiting for? Every GM kind of wants to get their guy in there, and to have the number 1 pick back to back years, or say 2 top 5 picks in back to back years, and the QB pool this year and last year is good. It's better this year than it was last year. So I mean, it's one of those things where if you don't find a good QB within this draft class that you don't like, I don't know what draft class you're going to find a QB in that you really like. So um, I would think they take a QB, especially if they end up moving on from Fields.
So to answer your question, Evan Ingram is in the number 5 spot currently, just
number
outside
5. Okay.
top 4. Kelsey, Hawkinson, Andrews, Kittle, Ingram.
Okay. Huh. All right. Well, then he's just made it out. Excuse me. Just made it out of the top 4, but he's right there, and maybe next week's game he'll be right in it.
As long as he finishes the season at number 4, I get a free lunch via your father-in-law.
Well, like I said, hopefully he does. So we'll see. Like I said, I have him one
of my leagues as well. Is it wrong to eat a ribeye for lunch?
No, that's maximizing your value there. So I don't blame you at all. Yeah, probably. It'll teach him to lose a bet to you again in the future.
That's right, sucker. I hope he's okay with a fish sandwich when I lose.
That's funny. Yeah. To finish out this game, Kyle Ridley had a good game as well, or decent game. 14 fantasy points. The dud in this game, I guess, would be Christian Kirk. He only had 8 fantasy points. Not god awful, but you want at least double digits from him. And then Pittsburgh, no one really did anything. Deontay Johnson had 16 fantasy points. He kept the only touchdown for Pittsburgh there. Kenny Pickett ended up getting hurt and having to leave the game, and Trubisky ended up stepping in his place. Yeah, that guy.
Not that I'm
real
excited.
1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Yeah, nothing to get excited. He's a guy where I wouldn't recommend or go rush to get him off the waiver wire, to replace Pickett or anything like that. Nope. The dud for sure, I would say George Pickens. Only 1 catch for 22 yards. At least it was a touchdown, but only 9 fantasy points in the day.
Yeah, you score a touchdown and you only get 9 fantasy points. That's rough.
Yeah, it's really rough. Considering if he didn't have that catch there, he would have had a big fat donut.
Yeah, big goose egg there.
Yeah, so that game wasn't too much to talk about there. Like I said, if you have Pickett, I doubt many people had Kenny Pickett on this team, but if you did, it's time to get a new quarterback, because Trubisky isn't going to be the guy you're going to want replacing your team.
He is not him.
He's not him. Yeah, correct. Again, guys, if you have any questions or comments, please drop them there. If you have any trade questions or ad drop questions, let us know, and we'll try to do our best to answer these. The next game that was actually better than that one was the Cincinnati and San Francisco game. San Francisco's dropped 3 straight now. So
I know, man. What's up? What's up, man? I bet on them to go to the Super Bowl, and it was looking so good.
You might want to cash that bet out.
I think it's a little late, but you know.
James says hello. So you were just talking about you, James, and that bet that you have with Mitch there.
Just
Let's see. We have
a little update, James. Evan Ingram is at number 5 right now. Number 5 tight ends in PPR fantasy. So I was hoping that you would be okay with like a fish sandwich or something, but if I win, I want a ribeye and a bottle of wine.
there you go. Let's see. To answer Frank's question, how long is Pickett out for? He was out with ribs, is what they took him out for. He's a game time decision, is what they're saying. So it's one of those where if you had him, you would have to kind of probably wait and to see if he's going to start or not. And a guy like Pickett isn't worth waiting for. If he's saying Pickens, I didn't see that Pickens is out at all. If he's talking about the receiver, though,
Looks
let
like
me
he
double
is.
check that. Oh, he is. Okay. Let me let me check to see how serious that is.
While you do that, I'll go to my next game.
Okay.
The Saints and the Colts. Derek Carr, 19 for 27, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like I said, I mean that's decent enough to pick up for a quarterback. If you lost Kirk Cousins this week, James, you could go look at Derek Carr if you like. Taysom Hill, I think, is the stud of the game. 63 yards rushing, 2 rushing touchdowns. He also had one reception for 14 yards and another touchdown, 3 touchdowns for Taysom Hill, man. I mean, he's just that church key that'll do everything, that Swiss Army knife that just does everything for the team. But don't count out Kamara, 59 yards, 1 touchdown there. Also 51 yards and a touchdown for receiving touchdown for Kamara. So just balling out there for the
he's kind of looking
Saints.
at the Camaro that we used to see back in the day.
Yeah. So what'd you find out about Pickens?
I didn't see that he was hurt at all. George Pickens, the receiver, is not hurt. The only ones that was hurt from there was Pickens. So
Pickett. That's where we're getting confused because you said Pickens twice.
Okay, my bad. I apologize. I have a stuttering problem apparently. But
it's your accent.
James says, yeah, there it is, my Mexican accent. Yeah. James says Kyler is going to Minnesota. That would be crazy if the Cardinals traded him to Minnesota.
That would be wild. You can have him.
But that's a team that definitely needs a quarterback, especially if they're not giving up on this season. But how effective is he going to be in Minnesota right off the bat? You know what I mean? It's going to take him a few weeks to study the playbook and all that other shit.
Yeah, no, there's going to be a little time there for sure. But that would be wild if that happens. And as far as I'm concerned, have him, take him. Maybe he'll score some Call of Duty points for you or something.
Yeah, he is leading the leaderboard over there on the Call of Duty score sheet. So he's got that going for him. But anyways, let's get going with the other games here. The Cincinnati-San Francisco game, 31-17. Like I said, San Francisco loses 3 straight. The guys that blew up on San Francisco side is McCaffrey. Duh. Yeah. He had 2 touchdowns, 29 fantasy points, 6 catches, 64 yards. Not much in the running game, only 54 yards. Kittles had a good day
before
as well.
you move on from McCaffrey real quick. So we have this thing in my house. Have you seen that commercial where it's the guy and they have ants in the house and it's like Aunt Betty or Aunt whoever that's in his house and they're going through the fridge and saying expired.
Yes.
So in
Okay.
our house, when you're watching any San Francisco game, it's all McCaffrey, McCaffrey, McCaffrey. So every time they say it, I repeat it, and Cammy either dies laughing or just wants to hit me because it's so much. It's McCaffrey, McCaffrey, McCaffrey every other play. It's ridiculous.
No, when when you got a guy like Debo that's out, and he's one of your best players, and you gave him a shit ton and traded for him last season, you're definitely going to make utilize him for sure.
Yeah, they're gonna say his
But
name a
part of
lot.
the issue with using him, no, well, he's a physical runner, and it's not, and he tends to get dinged up as well because of how hard he runs.
Mhm.
But
I mean,
you
a
got to
bell
take the
cow's
bad
gonna
with the
get hurt.
good. Yeah, yeah. You use him like that, he's definitely going to get dinged up. Um, but real quick, the other guys that had a good game for San Francisco, uh, Kittles had 24 points, still one of the best tight ends out there. Still can be inconsistent. So, like he'll have a game like 24, and then next week he'll have a 2-point game.
Yep.
So, but you love it when he has these games. And then Brandon Ayuk had 15 points as well. Joe Burrow's back. Joe Cool, 283 yards and 3 touchdowns. Um, and then
Four.
Mixon,
He only had
four
four missed
touchdowns.
throws.
Oh, 4 missed throws. Okay.
Yep.
I was saying, did I miss something here? You get another one
He
here
only
as I was talking?
only 4 incomplete passes.
Wow. Well, it's interesting how the Bengals have been able to do this like 3 years in a row now, where they start off like 0-2, or they get out the gate slow, and then right around mid-season they start picking up their stride, and then by it comes playoff time, they're looking like one of the best teams out there.
It's kind of like me in the
Same
morning.
with,
I get a rough start in the morning, but by the time 9 p.m. rolls around, I'm ready.
yeah, you had a cup of coffee or two. Yeah, shower, shower and shave. Yeah, you're good to go.
Yep. Get all the bugs out for the day, and then by the time dinner time comes around, I'm ready to go.
Let's see. Crazy Aces said, "I got Dobbs. You want to do a trade?" Not for fantasy football wise. No, thank you. So, I'll give you a peanuts for him maybe. So, but the other guys that everyone else had a decent fantasy day and ate pretty well here with the Cincinnati. Jamar Chase had 26 points. Joe Mixon had 19 fantasy points. Tyler Boyd caught another touchdown to give him 13 fantasy points. And then the quiet guy, that's T. Higgins, only 11 fantasy points. He really hasn't had that good of a fantasy season at all.
Yeah, it's been rough, man. It's been really rough for T. Higgins. And I remember when he was just this stud that just caught everything thrown to him, and he was involved in the game, in the passing attack, just left and right beside Jamar Chase. I just don't see that happening anymore. He's kind of just on the side burner almost, or on the back burner.
Right. Yeah, no, he seems like the odd one out for sure. My question, like, who would you feel more comfortable trading for, though? Like, if you had to choose between these two, Higgins or like Debo?
Trading who for?
Who would you feel more comfortable trading to get for, like to get? Would you rather have
Oh,
someone like Higgins who's healthy but not having such a great season, or someone like Debo who's had some good games but carries that injury risk because of how physical of a runner he is?
the injury risk is tough, but I think the ceiling is higher for Debo, right? Like I
Hmm.
think game to game when he is healthy and is in the game, his ceiling is just it's twice as high as we've seen from Higgins. So at this point, I don't know what. Can you look up what T. Higgins?
Yeah, what he's been doing.
Yeah, his
Sure.
like his game log for the last few weeks.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Actually, I can. Yeah, so 5 receptions, 2 receptions, 2, 2, 8, 89 yards,
Mhm.
69 yards are his best. 21, 19, 20. So yeah, I go Debo with the injury risk over Higgins.
Okay. Yeah, and then looking at Debo's numbers here, 10 points, 21 points, 24 points, 0. He ended up missing an injury game. That's what we're talking about, where he has a 0,
Mhm.
11 points, and then 1 point, and then a 0 like the last 2 weeks here, just
Yeah, I
from
mean,
the injuries. So
most
it's
of
one of
his
those, like I
games
said,
he's
when he's out there, he's productive.
at least in double digits when he's on the field, except for the one. Yeah, Debo for me.
Cool. Yeah, we had another. James agreed with you. Well, said Debo. Let's see. Yeah, and then also it looks like Brock Purdy's been struggling as well. He didn't really have too good of a game. Um, is that someone that you would be concerned with if that was your main guy? Would you be looking to try and replace him, or would you just be like,
No.
hey, he's taking his lumps and ride it out?
Yeah, you're gonna have ups and downs, man. This a little downtime for Purdy, but I think it'll be no time before he bounces back. And I think he's really learning this game well, and he's got the headspace to do it. Um, I wouldn't worry too much about Purdy. I think he's gonna
Okay.
hang in there.
All right. The good thing is he's knows that system, the offensive system, pretty well, and is once everyone gets healthy and on the same page, as far as Debo and whatnot, um,
Yep.
his numbers should improve. So, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine.
All right.
Okay, so we had a New York game here. I'm not real
The Frank
sure what
Sinatra
to,
game.
I'm not sure what to say about it. I guess we can talk about some duds here. Nobody was really much of a
What was the score of that game?
10-13 Jets.
I could see why there's not much to talk about.
I mean, I I I just don't even know what to say. Barkley had a good game, 36 carries for 128 yards. Tyrod Taylor ran for 33 yards. Man, receiving. You know what their top receiver was? Matt Breida with 4 yards. Darren
Wait a minute.
Waller,
Wait a
one
minute. No,
catch
no,
for
hold on.
4 yards.
That doesn't make any sense. Matt Breida's a running back. You
Yeah,
said
he can
the
still catch the
leading
ball.
receiver, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that makes
So
perfect sense. That's
the
exactly
running
what I
back
said
is the
there.
leading receiver. No, I was hoping I misheard. Like that's just crazy.
I
It's
see
never
a
good
receiver
when you're
down here.
leading.
Wandale Robinson is here on the list, but 0 catches, 1 target, 0 yards. Matt Breida with 4 yards, Darren Waller with 4 yards. That was their air yard attack on the game.
Holy cow! Well, that's what happens, I guess, when your backup QB gets hurt, and then your leading receiver and Waller ends up getting re-hurt as well.
Yeah, so Tommy DeVito comes in for for a few plays
Tommy
there.
De, Tommy
Two
DeVito,
two
he sounds like an
attempts.
actor. Dude, seriously, with
And
that name in New York, that's perfect. Jesus Christ, did his name come with a meatball sandwich?
it should makes it more appetizing. Holy moly! So the Giants, that's the Giants, man. There's nothing, absolutely nothing to talk there. That's all duds. Zach
Okay.
Wilson for the Jets, 240 yards and a touchdown. Not bad. He completed less than half of his passes though. Brees Hall had a decent game, 12 carries, 17 yards. He had 76 yards in the passing game with a touchdown, put up 20 fantasy points in PPR. Garrett Wilson, 100 yards on 7 receptions, 17 fantasy points for PPR. That's it, man. That's it. We can move on. We can just forget about New York altogether.
All right. Done. Going on.
All right.
We'll talk about a game here for our super fan here. That's why James here. Minnesota and Green Bay. 24-10, Minnesota takes this one, but it cost them. Comes with the price, that win. They lost their starting QB, their $80 million QB, Kirk Cousins here. Captain Kirk goes down for the season here with an Achilles.
James still on? James, are you with us?
Yeah,
Weigh
that's
in
why
on
he
how
probably
you feel.
wants. It's probably why he wants Kyler Murray.
Yeah,
So, but
absolutely.
before he left that game there, he ended up throwing for 2 touchdowns and 274 yards. So he still had a decent fantasy day. The Hawkinson had 20 fantasy points. Jordan Addison, the rookie, is doing very well, stepping in for JJ there. He
Yep.
had 21 fantasy points. Another touchdown. I think that's like 3 straight games where he's had a touchdown. And then
Yeah, you're right.
J.K. Osborne has had 17 points as well. So
How many did KJ Osborne have?
how many touchdowns or fantasy points?
Either. KJ, not JK.
Okay. JK. Did I miss?
TJ.
Did I say that?
I know there's JJ, TJ, KJ. We're
KK,
just
yeah.
we're full of them over here in Minnesota.
Yeah, there's a lot of like 2-letter names, first names here. But KJ Osborne had 17 fantasy points, just as much as JK Osborne, I guess.
Oh, good.
So,
okay, so it didn't matter. Okay.
Yeah. And then all your disappointment came from the Green Bay side, which I just fucking love.
Oh, I
Just
bet you
absolutely
shit.
love. Yeah, I love that Love isn't doing shit. So he had 229 passing yards and 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Looked pretty inconsistent the whole game. Aaron Jones, he was a major dud. I know he's on your team. He's probably
Dud.
you're ripping your hair off. 7 fantasy points. So
Dud.
that's next to nothing. And then AJ Dillon, his backup, outscored him fantasy points wise, 10 fantasy points. Receivers did okay. You had the rookie Reed with 12 fantasy points, and then Romeo Dobbs with another touchdown catch to give him 11 fantasy points. But yeah, really not much to brag about on Green Bay side, which I'm okay with. So no really major injuries in this game besides Captain Kirk. Either right now, like I said, I think Hall, the rookie from BYU, Jaron Hall stepped in his place. Didn't really do much, only 23 yards, but I think they might go with Nick Mullins for next week instead of Hall. So
what does that division look like right now? Since we're talking Minnesota, Green Bay, and you're with Chicago, and then there's the Lions, right? So the Lions are leading the division. What's the rest of it look like?
Lions are leading, yeah, and they're leading by a good amount. Let's see. Let me pull it up here. Lions should run away with this here. So the Lions are at 5-2. Minnesota's 4-4, and then Green Bay's 2-5, and we're 2-6.
Okay.
So
yeah, the Lions are really gonna.
Yeah, I mean they should win that division for sure. It looks like their closest competition is going to be Minnesota, but with now Kirk Cousins going out, I don't see who's going to get in Detroit's way unless the injury bug hits them.
Yeah, James is saying that Mullins for the next couple of weeks will be starting there in Minnesota.
Okay. Well, we'll see. He's the man that would know. That's his team there. So I normally don't like it when the Vikings win, but when it's against Green Bay, I can live with that. I can live with that for sure.
Lesser of two evils, right?
Correct. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So,
dude, the Broncos over the Chiefs. Can you believe it?
Yeah, that was a huge upset.
Did you get to watch it? I didn't get to watch it.
I saw some of it. I saw the ending of it. Yeah, what do you call it looked like Patrick Mahomes tried to have his flu game type of his version of the
Yep.
flu game, and it
Yep.
didn't quite work out that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now he's traveling to Germany with the flu. Like, how bad would that suck, man? Have the flu, be sick, you're going to Germany, they may or may
Is
not
it the
let you
flu or
in
is it
there.
COVID?
I don't know. They're calling it the flu. I think they're not calling it COVID if it is first, so he can get into Germany.
Yeah, that would freaking blow big time. I'm guessing Mahomes made the dud list for one of the few times in his career, huh?
Yep, 24 for 38. He did throw for 241 yards. First time he's not thrown a touchdown in several weeks. 2 interceptions. Did he even run the ball at all? 3 rushes for 20 yards. Pacheco had the best day on the ground with 40 yards. Man, Travis Kelce only 58 yards. Rashee Rice 56 yards. 42 for Justin Watson. So that means Travis Kelce, what's that? 11 fantasy points. Rashee Rice, that's who I sat Gabe Davis for with 9 points on the Chiefs side. So, yeah, a lot of duds coming out of the Chiefs sides, which, mark my words, because you don't hear that very often. But I guess if you got the flu, you're not feeling too good, right?
Right, yeah. You're not going to be as sharp as you normally would. But yeah, typically I think we both were expecting the duds to be coming out of Denver in this
No.
game, and
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
I saw Judy caught a touchdown and Sutton caught a touchdown. I think Russell Wilson ended up with 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns, 114 yards. He only threw the ball 19 times all day. That's all he had to do.
Wow. I mean,
They were just running the ball. 85 for Javonte Williams, 33 yards for Jaleel. But yeah, so Javonte Williams catching a touchdown too. It's cool to see him back and in the workload there, getting to see some good snaps and some good work. So welcome back, I guess. Go Broncos. I don't know what else to say.
now is someone like Russell Wilson somebody? Would that be a guy that you could live with as your quarterback after you think he's back after this game?
No, I wouldn't call him back. I would call
Okay.
I would call it more of a the flu's going through the locker room in Kansas City, and Russell Wilson just so happened to cash in on it.
Gotcha.
I don't think he's back. I don't think. Whoa. Hey, sorry, my dog's like trying to take my whole setup down here.
Yeah, I saw it.
All right, we're good.
Yeah, he must be a fan of Russell Wilson. He's like, don't talk about my boy.
Yeah, something, man. These dogs are crazy.
That's funny. James says the NFL can't help you out if you have the flu. Well, they stuck him with a bunch of IVs and stuff because we all know the ref support number 15. Yeah, well, they do. The Chiefs tend to travel with their own refs. That's for damn sure. That's what it kind of seems like to me.
Yeah, they put him up in the hotel and feed him a steak dinner every night before the game, and that's just the way it is for Kansas City, I guess.
Hey, it's good to be king, I guess. When you're the champs, you get special perks.
I guess so.
Yeah, that's what we're all strive to be. We all want to be on that mountaintop. So, let's see the next
Brady
game here.
Jr.
We'll go through real quick. Brady Jr. Yeah, no, for sure.
But honestly, I kind of like
give
Patrick
somebody
Mahomes.
the crown.
I like Patrick Mahomes. I think he's just really good at what he does. I think he's a little bit more of a humble dude. When you're
Not quite
just
as douchey as Brady.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the Kermit voice and all the the things, but it's not. That's not something he can control, I guess. I don't know. I was never a fan of Brady, but I actually kind of like Patrick Mahomes.
I hear you.
As a guy.
I hear you. Yeah, no, I like him more than I like his wife. That's for sure. Can't stand that woman. So Brady to Minnesota. Okay. Yeah, you guys got to get a football team first,
Ooh,
oh, Minnesota, Brady to Minnesota. My bad. I thought you were saying New Mexico since you're out there, James.
uh,
But yeah, he would have to give up ownership of the Raiders, I think. Um, but
oh,
let's see
just a
the
heads
next
up.
game
It's the
here.
end of the fourth, and it's Rangers 4. Is it 3 or 4-0?
3. Yeah, I saw
Ugh.
that. Yeah, yeah. Corey Seager hit another 3-run home run there, unfortunately. So, but we knocked their starting pitchers out. But anyways, let's get back to these football games here. Um, the Browns versus Seahawks. Seahawks ended up winning that one 24-20. That was a decent game. Um, no big guys that blew up. I think the guy that had the best game here was probably Tyler Lockett. He had 22 fantasy points and 81 yards and 1 touchdown. Uh, Jackson Smith Najigba got another touchdown, had 12 fantasy points. And
Nice.
then Bobo uh, got ended up with 10 points. He had a rushing touchdown, 2 catches and 20 yards. Um, Metcalf had a decent day, not terrible, but he's definitely hoping a lot more. Only 11 fantasy points.
Seems like
Um,
Bobo's kind of worked his way into that offense pretty well. He's become kind of a staple there.
no, I agree. You're seeing his name or having it heard said more often. Um, he's a big receiver, so they're definitely trying to use him around the end zone. He might
Yeah,
be
he's
one
a
of
big
those
guy.
guys that you could use as a bye week filler. Yeah. And then nobody did too much with the Browns here. Kareem Hunt had a decent day. He had 13 fantasy points. He was able to rush one in with 55 yards. Uh, Cooper had 14 fantasy points. And then the main guy for Cleveland was Njoku. He had 17 fantasy points, 4 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. So those were the main guys that did anything there in that game. Um, the mystery guy again, once again, is Deshaun Watson. And what do you do with him? Yep, that's exactly what James was saying. His shoulder is still bothering him, from what they're saying. Um, I don't know if he'll play this year. That's a great question, James. Do you think he's played his last game with Cleveland?
Uh,
As crazy as that sounds.
I don't know about that. I think it's going to be another few weeks, and he could possibly come back and play. I mean, PJ Walker has done decent. This wasn't exactly his best showing since he took over, but I don't know. I was going to ask you a question about the running backs in Cleveland. Rest of season, would you rather Kareem Hunt or Jerome Ford?
Hmm. I would. I think Hunt, and the only reason why I say Hunt is because has history with the team. I think they may just trust him a bit more. Um, and unfortunately,
He,
both those guys are kind of getting hit with the injury bug. Hunt's been
yeah,
dealing
that's
with a
true.
thigh issue. I'm not sure what's been bugging Ford, but Ford's been nicked up as well, and that's kind of what's been giving Hunt this opportunity to play a bit more and get more opportunities here.
Okay,
What about
okay.
you? Would you rather have Ford
No,
or Hunt?
I'm right there with you. Right there with you. I'd rather have Hunt for the
Okay.
rest of the season.
Okay. Um, would you? Are you worried? The question I have here with you is: are you worried about Amari Cooper? Like, would you be looking to try and dump him?
I would, yeah, I would definitely be trying to trade him off. I don't know. What do you think you could get for Cooper? You know, if you were to try to trade him, what kind of receiver or even a running back do you think you could get for him?
Um, Running backs, I think maybe you could get someone like a David Montgomery, maybe.
Okay.
He should be coming back here soon, and I think once he does get back, I don't think Jahmyr Gibbs has done quite enough. Like he's done decent, but he hasn't been like he hasn't had any Travis Etienne type of games where he's just kind of taken over that offense.
Hmm.
Um, so I think
What about
somewhere in that caliber. Go ahead.
what about somebody like Mike Evans for receiver?
Like a receiver for a receiver
Yeah.
type of thing. If you were to do that,
Yep.
man, I think it's always a little tricky to trade from the same players in the same position, like receivers for receivers. Um, I think I would do it just because I probably like Baker Mayfield throwing me the quarterback more than I do like PJ Walker.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so I mean, but at the same time, you do have to weigh it out because at the same time, you definitely have more guys to deal with Tampa. If you have like Mike Evans, you have guys like Godwin that's going to take away targets. Same thing with Rashid White and stuff. Um, over there in Cleveland, besides Njoku, like it's just Cooper. As far as you know what I mean,
Hmm.
in the receiving area. So he may not get very. It's one of those things where he may get targeted a lot, but he just may not result into very many touchdowns.
Okay.
So
All right. I like it.
no trades for Dalvin Cook. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think too many people are looking to trade for Dalvin Cook, but I heard he's another one that's possibly on the market as far
So
as
I
where the
think,
Jets are looking to possibly trade him
yeah. So
away.
I think James is talking more NFL team to team trade rather than fantasy trade,
Gotcha,
because
gotcha.
he's talking about third or fourth round pick for Ford or Hunt.
Okay, okay, gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Hmm. Yeah, in the real world, yeah, I'm not sure if you could get that for Hunt in the real world. A fourth round pick. I think because I think last year when
Or
he
maybe
was
he's talking
upset.
Amari Cooper. That might be for Amari.
Okay, yeah, that makes a bit more sense for sure. If they were trying to trade him from real life, yeah. So
So then you have
let's
Amari
see.
and Kareem Hunt. That is, I mean, or Dalvin and Kareem Hunt. That would be a good combo you know, in the real world there for the Browns.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, it'll be interesting to see. I'm surprised that Dalvin Cook hasn't been able to do much with the Jets. I know Brees Hall is really starting to come around, but like I said, I'm just still surprised that he's really not being utilized at all, really. So, real quick, let's get through these games here, just because we're getting a little over an hour here. Let's see. The last two games that I have to talk about are probably the most, one's really, really boring and one's really, really disappointing.
Skip the boring one. Just skip it altogether.
All right,
I've
so
only
we're
got
gonna
one more
skip.
game, and it's the game that I actually went to.
Okay, all right. Well, the one I'll just get through this one real quick. We had Houston and Carolina. Not very much scoring was done there, so it was filled with a bunch of duds. It was 13-15. Um, let's see. We had Adam Thielen, 15 fantasy points, 8 catches for 72 yards. That's about it. A lot of duds. Chuba Hubbard only 6 points, and Nico Brown only 8 points. Or sorry, Nico Collins only 8 points. Um, and then Pierce only 4 points. Damian Pierce. So just a big fat dud on this game with everybody here. It was very, very boring to watch.
Boring.
Yeah, and I can't. I just don't know anybody on here that you would even think about trying to trade for or even want to
I
pick
think
up.
this game it was kind of a rookie quarterback versus rookie quarterback, and they just proved it. It's like you can come out and play against the Patrick Mahomes or the elite quarterbacks and do okay, but when you know you're playing against another rookie, it's like it seems like whenever that happens, it's kind of just a middle of the road type of game.
Right. Yeah. They kind of played down to their competition there. So yeah, it
Yep.
was number one versus number two, and number one had the slightly better game. Bryce Young had 235 yards and a touchdown, compared to C.J. Stroud's 140 and one touchdown here. Let's see. Yeah, and I agree, James. Adam Thielen's about the only guy that you could look at on that roster and kind of be like, okay, he's been consistent throughout the whole year. So. The last game I'm going to talk about is my disappointing game. Is the Bears and Chargers, a Sunday night game. Um, and I wanted to throw a brick through my goddamn TV.
Yeah, I know, man. I turned it off. If I'm not gonna lie, I turned it off in the third quarter. I said, Cammy, I think this game's over. We can watch your Supernatural or One Tree Hill or whatever she's on at the moment.
Jesus Christ, you turned off a football game for One Tree Hill. That's how bad the football game was, folks.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I turned off the Bears to watch One Tree Hill.
yeah, it was like watching paint dry. I agree. No secret agent man. No, the secret agent man had threw for 232, two interceptions. He did have a rushing touchdown, but I mean, nothing that you're not gonna go run and get him. Foreman makes the dud wire list with only 4 points, which is so disappointing because last week he had three touchdowns and he backed that up with only 4 points. But they didn't give him very many opportunities to rush the ball. DJ Moore makes the dud list as well. Only 9 fantasy points, 4 catches for 55 yards. Um, all the scoring came on the other side of the ball. Herbert looked great. Even with the broken finger, Justin Herbert had 3 touchdowns for 298 yards.
Dude,
Um,
it was kind of funny to see his finger like just wobbling around out there. but
yeah,
but but he made it work. He made it work. He did all right.
he did. He looked really good. He's definitely one of the guys that saved your fantasy team probably instead of killing it. Eckler was another one that had a great game, 24 fantasy points. Keenan Allen had 14 fantasy points along with the tight end, Donald Parham. And then Quentin Johnson, the rookie, kind of made a debut, 10 fantasy points. I'm not
Yeah, he got into the
sure if,
double digits.
yeah, no touchdowns, but 5 catches on 6 targets and 50 yards. Um, he's one that maybe if he puts up another good game like this, he might be someone you would consider picking up on the free
Well,
agent
I
wire.
know a lot of people were stashing him there for a while because he was kind of a hot pickup there for a minute. I know I drafted him real late in the draft to just kind of stash him and see how he did. I've since dropped him. Excuse me, I've since dropped him, but I think you know
Mhm.
here coming up, it might be time to start thinking about that. Maybe stash him for a couple weeks and see how he does.
I agree. Yeah, he's someone to keep an eye on. Um, if you don't have quite the room to put him on your roster, one that you kind of put a flag on and watch to see if he has another few more good games. But if you do have an extra roster spot, he may be worth grabbing, especially if you need a receiver for the upcoming weeks in the buys. The last question I have for you with regarding this game is, if you were offered DJ Moore in a trade, would that be a name that would intrigue you at all, entice you, or is the fact that, especially with Fields is coming back here within the next week, he's out for this upcoming week, so Bajent's going to start again against the Saints. But do you think
So,
DJ Moore's value is kind of completely dead, or would you try and buy low on him now?
um, I mean, for me, I've just kind of done almost everything I can to stay away from the Bears offense. If I mean, I hate to say it like that, but I've done that with the Cardinals too. I have zero Cardinals players on any of my teams anywhere, just because I
That's
want
fair.
players on a high powered offense more. So me personally, I wouldn't be accepting trade offers for DJ Moore. I mean,
Gotcha.
it would have to be a pretty sweet deal, and would
Gotcha.
likely get vetoed by the rest of the group.
Yeah, it could, yeah. Depending on what you were getting back on that trade or and whatnot. So
Yep.
uh, James agrees with you as well. So just
He knows
guys,
what's
just
up.
dogging on my Chicago players. Well, he's
You
a Minnesota
asked.
guy. He's not gonna like Chicago. Yeah, I did ask. I regret asking that now. That's my bad. That's my fault. I fucked that up.
So I actually went to a game this weekend, and I
Yeah, so you're
took
talking about you went to the Cardinals game.
I took my wife's nephew, who's never been to my wife's nephew, my wife's husband. Nope, my niece's husband. He calls me uncle, so I want to call him nephew, and I know he's married to somebody who just so happens to be my niece. So anyway,
Gotcha.
he got into fantasy football this year. He's never really been into football. He joined a work league. I kind of helped him
He should
out a
be
little
tuning in
bit.
then.
Yeah, I know it. I know. I told him to tune in. He did watch week one,
Okay.
when we started this, and but he's never been to an NFL game. So I took him. We had great seats in the wheelchair area, so it was awesome, man. It was fun to get a guy out there and pop his cherry, if you will, for an NFL game. Anyway, for that game, that was the Cardinals and Ravens. There is one guy here for the Cardinals that I would suggest picking up, somebody that I think could potentially be a top 15-ish tight end, is Trey McBride.
Oh yeah.
Second year,
Okay.
second
I can
year
see
tight
that.
end. I mean, 10 receptions, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. And I just think that whether it's Dobbs, Clayton Tune, or Kyler Murray, I think he's just that big presence in that offense that is going to get a lot of looks through the rest of the season. So I mean, he just had a great day, right? Romeo
Yeah. So
Dobbs was.
do you think he's
Go ahead.
taking that job from Zach Ertz then?
Well, Zach Ertz is on IR right now, so I don't know if it's necessarily
Oh,
that,
okay.
but I think so. Zach Ertz went on IR last week, so we're looking at minimum 4 weeks, right? So
Mhm.
but I think when they're running 2 tight end sets, it could be one or the other, because I think Trey McBride is really showing that he belongs in the NFL and that he can overpower and take some of those catches and just plow people over to get in the end zone, or at least get a few extra yards when he needs it.
Yeah, that's fair. And I saw he almost had a touchdown. They ended up blowing the whistle kind of early. I think he got stopped like at the 2 yard line, but then I saw that the rest of his teammates came behind him and gave him like that Philly shove. And
Yep.
but they said he was dead. The forward progress had stopped already, I guess.
You know what's funny is they never blew the whistle, but then they came back and said forward progress was stopped.
These refs, man, I swear to God, they're doing some funky shit this year.
Yeah.
Even more
Well,
than
it's not.
normal, it feels like.
I was gonna say it's not just this year, but what are a bunch of
Yeah,
peons like us gonna do about it?
just keep watching the stupid ass games, I guess.
Anyway, for the Cardinals, DeMarcado 78 yards on 20 carries. The rookie Michael Wilson with 58 yards. Hollywood Brown did get in the end zone, 33 yards only. Over here to the Ravens, man, Gus Edwards, 3 touchdowns, 19 carries, 80 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns.
Holy cow!
Like
So
just plowing. So between him and Justice Hill, the Justice Hill was the air attack guy. Gus Edwards just plowing over dudes, getting in the end zone. Lamar Jackson didn't have a great game. 18 for 27, 157 yards and a touchdown. It was all through the ground because Arizona's, can't stop the run.
can't stop the run. Yeah, a lot of teams are having that issue this year,
Yep.
unfortunately. So, but But all right. Well, guys, if you guys have any questions or any last minute comments here, we're pretty much done with going over all the games and talking about all the fantasy injuries that happen and whatnot. So, but if there's any questions, go ahead and throw them in here now before we go ahead and head out. These upcoming bye weeks here, there's 4 teams that are on a bye. I believe Jacksonville is going to be one of them here. Let me try and pull this up to kind of look after as well. Give me 1 second, and we'll kind of let you know which teams are on a bye this week. This past week, no teams were on a bye, so everybody
we go
played.
from bipocalypse to nobody.
Yeah, and then back to teams being on a bye now. So that's funny. Let's see. So this week we have the Jaguars, the 49ers, the Lions, and the Broncos on a bye this upcoming week. Lions are playing right now, but week 9 has those 4 teams on a bye: the Broncos, Lions, Jaguars, and 49ers. So if you have anybody on those guys in your starting lineup, you might need to think about who you have on your bench to see
If you got
want
George
them to start
Kittle,
or pick
go
somebody
pick
else.
up Trey McBride.
There you go. There's a guy that just plug in for a week, and hopefully he can get you around 10 to 12 fantasy points that you can live with.
Yes, sir.
So, but all right, man. It doesn't look like any other questions are coming through right now. What do you call it? If nothing else, we'll go ahead and start wrapping it up. Want to give a quick shout out to a few of the guys that made comments here. James, thank you very much for tuning in and dropping a few minutes, checking in with us. We really appreciate that. We had Crazy Aces came on and joined us earlier. We appreciate him. Same thing with Frank. Keith, thank you for tuning as well. Thank you for tuning in. These are a few of the guys part of that 32-man league here. But we're coming towards the end of the season. I think there's only games before it comes to fantasy football playoff time. So we're almost rounding that corner here where it's not going to be much football left to talk about. Unfortunately, I'm going to be sad again.
A couple wins for me this week helped me breathe a little bit. I can take a breath for a week maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, it's going to be playoff time soon, baby. So let's do it.
Yeah, I agree. So, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and sign off. I want to thank everybody for tuning in once again. Please tune in. Just want to let you guys know tomorrow night we have a show. It's our main show here with T-Nick, JB Stats, Foulmouth C, and Frank the Tank. Going to go over the Bears and Chargers game, that Sunday night game, and how brutal it was. Talk about
you got to relive that again?
All the issues. Yeah, well, we got to work through the bad times to get to the good times. So,
all right. Well, I hope good times are on their way.
Yeah, me too, because it's been a lot of fucking bad times that we've been dealing with. But yeah, we'll go over the game. They'll go over the game there, so check them out. They're at 8 o'clock Central. On Thursday night, we have the midweek show with Chef, Amp, and Sugar and Vodka. They also recap the game. Look forward to the upcoming game coming up here. The Bears have the Saints coming up next, so they'll probably talk about that game. And then Friday nights, Easy Does It has his show. That's at 8 Central as well. So everybody, please leave a thumbs up, like the page here at the Chicago Clubhouse Network. We really do appreciate it. If you did tune in and you didn't leave a comment, they
Shame
officially
on you.
label you as a lurker. They say you're a lurker. So we do appreciate you tuning in, but please leave a like. Mitch, did you have any final words or any comments, anything to say
No,
before
I
we
think
leave these good people?
that kind of wraps it up, man. No teams on bye this next week, so I'm sorry, this last week, which
First
was
4 teams.
cool. Check out those, hit that waiver wire. If you have any questions, is there any way that they can ask us questions throughout the week when we're not live? Is that a
Well, they
possibility?
can, yeah, on the YouTube page, if you in the comment section write down a comment, it gives me an alert that someone's made a comment there. And if you ask a question and whatnot, I can definitely reply to that question. It's Crooked Commish. You'll see that I'm replying to you, and kind of do my best to answer the question and kind of give you my opinion
At
on
least
your
give you
question.
his opinion, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's it for me. I'm good.
All right. Well, the real VP, thank you again very much for joining me this week on recapping the games and talking fantasy football. I really, really do appreciate it. And
Yes,
I want
sir.
to thank everybody for tuning in. You be safe, Mitch. I'll see you here in a few days. You all out there, please be safe as well and enjoy your football Sundays. Remember, be good or be good at it. Peace.